Hello and welcome to the Stronghold Digital Mining, well, not daily update, right? It almost feels like a weekly update at this point. Today's Friday, March 15th, 2024. I've kind of been on spring break, if you want to call it that, but I've also been doing quite a bit of research and I've been publishing a bit more frequently on X as opposed to having a conversation with you on YouTube. So to the extent you are not yet visiting X, there's a link in the description of this video, more than likely, whereby you can kind of check out what I've been posting and publishing and kind of talking about. It's interesting to me how much guesswork goes into this question of what will Stronghold Digital Mining's all-in, cost per coin, be post-halving. So in other words, hey, what does Bitcoin have to be at for Stronghold Digital Mining to, I guess, like break even? Now, it's unclear to me how some of these numbers are formulated. I, for example, earlier this week did some mathematical calculations based on a framework, like a Bitcoin mining framework provided by, if I'm not mistaken, Penny Ether, who is, I think, a very, very thought-provoking participant in these types of conversations, right? As it relates to the Bitcoin mining space, valuations, stuff like that. So I went through the math. Let me see if I could actually pull it up. And what I came to the conclusion of, after plugging in a bunch of different variables that I don't even think people understand or care about, and that's okay, by the way, but what I came up with was $134,500. I'm sorry, $550. So $134,550. Now you're going to hear that, and understandably, right? It's like, hey, wow, that's crazy. How does Stronghold ever kind of like break even if that's the price at which Bitcoin has to be for the company to break even after the halving? That's okay. If that's the number you want to get stuck with, so be it. But to the extent you're more interested in finding out, like, hey, what variables went into calculating that, again, you're welcome to visit X, and you can check out some of the things I've posted. I will share that one of the assumptions that I baked into that number is an assumption that immediately upon halving, the Bitcoin network hash rate, instead of dropping, because ostensibly maybe some older Bitcoin mining machines will finally come off the network, instead of that happening, I'm assuming the network hash rate will explode all the way up to 900 exahash and stay there. So if you don't even know what I'm talking about, or that's confusing, you're like, man, I don't know, just give me a number. Well, dude, all I can tell you is there's a lot of variables that go into these numbers, okay? But I think one could argue, right, as an absolute worst case, like, wow, like an atomic bomb of sorts goes off within the publicly, traded Bitcoin mining ecosystem, and you see a situation where immediately upon having, boom, that network hash rate leaps up to practically almost 1,000, right, as compared to where it's at right now, which, why don't we look it up just for the sake of the conversation we're having. I'm going to pull up the dashboard. It looks like the network hash rate as of about 3 o'clock on March 15th, 2024. What I'm seeing in front of me here is a network hash rate of 544. So the number that I computed assumes that's going to jump to 900, like in less than a month, and stay there. But again, it's okay. Hey, from my perspective, our stock is so ridiculously undervalued to begin with. If our stock were to go down even further, and this is something else I shared on X, it would not surprise me if there are some new 5% holders of this company, and it wouldn't surprise me if the board of directors had to entertain some offers to just take the company private. Although I think there's a lot of benefit to having access to the capital markets. So I don't know that it necessarily makes sense to really go private, but I could see this company really being held by a handful of entities, because again, the valuation even now is ridiculous. If our stock's $1 a share, I mean, let's say there's there's talk, oh, the Federal Reserve, maybe they're going to hike rates, or maybe, so, I don't know, some world politician trips on some steps and gets hurt, and the stock market takes a tumble, whatever the case may be. Hey, and our shares get pummeled down to that $1 range. I'm highly confident that there's going to be some. There's going to definitely be some stuff happening. But anyway, I'm very optimistic about Stronghold Digital Mining as a company. I really am. And by the way, I just want to stick with this topic of, hey, because there's an obsession over this number. What does Bitcoin have to be at after the halving for Stronghold or any publicly traded miner to break even or to make some money, right? So I came up with 134,550 based on some pretty draconian, numbers, right? Like kind of like worst case scenario numbers. So it turns out that Cantor Fitzgerald, which is a company that has been a bit more active in the publicly traded Bitcoin mining space, right, insofar as their reports and their analysis and their projections. So it turns out that in late January of this year, so it would have been like January, I believe, 25th, 2024. This is, this is like the title of the slide here, Cantor's all-in cost per coin analysis immediately post-halving. So what's the number? For Stronghold Digital Mining, Cantor Fitzgerald, again, this isn't some like small operation, like operating out on Long Island. I mean, this is like a world-class, organization with a really, really good reputation, okay? With some incredibly smart people. I mean, not just smart because they're good at doing puzzles, but smart in a practical way, right? They came up with a number of 52,894. That's a pretty big difference, right? 135 plus $1,000 per coin versus 52,894. Let's just call it 53,000. So I'm looking at the dashboard right now. Bitcoin has, been down a bit the last couple of days. What's it trading at though? I'm seeing well over $68,000 a coin. I do see our stock price is up a bit. We're up over $4. I don't know why, right? Hey, why not give it away at $1? Trust me, there will be many a vulture who starts, flying around this company because really the stock's being given away. I mean, it might as well be in the bargain bin outlet of a closeout store. Really, it's kind of ridiculous. But anyway, let's focus, right? Let's get back to that number because it's a number that gets obsessed about so much. What does the post-halving price of Bitcoin need to be at for Stronghold Digital Mining to survive and to do well? Cantor Fitzgerald, which, maybe they do math better than I can. Maybe they're using different inputs. I have no idea really, right? But they came up with $52,894. Now that's January, 25th, 2024. If they were to do that same analysis today, what number would they come up with? I don't know. But here's the really good news, and this is how this story is going to come to an end right now. The really cool news is that in probably about a month or so, we no longer need to guess. We no longer need to speculate. We don't need to just kind of like, stress out over what does the number have to be. We're going to find out what the number has to be because we're going to get the actual number that it's going to be, right? Because the halving is going to happen. There's no postponing it. There's no kicking that can down the road, right? It's going to happen. And so the mathematics that govern whether or not Stronghold Digital Mining or any of the other publicly traded Bitcoin mining companies, right? Those mathematics are going to be imposed upon these companies, whether these companies want that math imposed on them or not. Okay? Now, Stronghold Digital Mining, as mentioned in their most recent Q4 2023 investor presentation, has been strengthening their balance sheet to prepare for the halving, which is smart. Very, very smart and very forward-thinking. Today, it was revealed, slightly different topic now, that our friends over at Marathon Digital Holdings, a company that I have tremendous respect for, I really do. I think Fred, their CEO, I've heard him speak on many a podcast. I have yet to hear somebody, describe the things that he describes in as eloquent and as intelligent and as a manner that he does. I mean, he's really, really on point, I think, on many, many topics. And these guys run a very, very, I think, good operation. Again, it's a different business model than Stronghold Digital Mining. It's sort of like a different way of approaching this industry. I have respect for it, okay? So today, it seems as if, though, they acquired a data center, and they acquired that data center, if I'm reading what's being published on X correctly, for $97,300,000. Say $97.3 million. So on a per megawatt basis, that works out to about $486,500 per megawatt. I think that's a very good deal for Marathon and for Marathon shareholders. Congratulations. I think that's a really good deal. Now, if one were to apply that valuation to the data center infrastructure that Stronghold Digital Mining owns, about 130 megawatts worth of it, you're looking at a valuation just for the data center of $63,245,000. The last time I checked, I think Yahoo Finance was indicating that our market cap was like about $50 million. I think that's thought-provoking. Hey, what about the debt? Okay, I mean, the valuation of the data center alone, not even talking about the Bitcoin mining machines, just the data center alone, right? Upwards of 63 million. That pretty much covers our largest secured debt piece, right? And then what does that mean? Everything else is pure upside. What valuation do you want to put on the two plants? What valuation do you want to put on a carbon capture business that can generate up to 30 million a year? What valuation do you want to put on the Bitcoin mining machines that are currently in these data centers? So on and so forth. Congratulations, though, Marathon shareholders. I think that's a really good deal. By the way, Stronghold also has 25 megawatts of data center infrastructure that's just sitting in storage. I think if you apply that same valuation metric to the 25 megawatts we've got sitting in a warehouse, that's about $12+ million worth of stuff, for lack of a more technical way to describe it, just sitting in a warehouse. I'm not very concerned about what the stock price does. Absent there being some material news that's specific to Stronghold that could have an adverse impact on the stock price, right? But the stock price deciding to go up or down for no apparent reason, and lately it's been more down than up, it really doesn't perturb me. And I think it's useful to sometimes dig into the numbers to figure out what's going on, reestablish a better sense of what the company's all about and what it's doing, instead of panicking when one sees the stock price going down. Because from my perspective, there does come a point where if that stock decides to go down far enough, there's going to be some really interesting things happening. I can practically guarantee it. Okay, my friend, it is Friday. The weekend is upon us. Something called St. Patrick's Day, which is celebrated here in the United States, is upon us. To the extent you choose to celebrate that holiday, I hope you have a good one. And we will definitely see each other again next week. Again, I'm sort of in a little bit of a spring break mode here, still doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, but I don't know if we're going to see each other specifically on Monday. But we are going to be in contact a bit more. And I do want to talk more about valuations. Because I think that's something that's just really, really interesting in the context of what we're seeing in the financial markets right now. Like specifically Stronghold Digital Mining's valuation. I think it's ridiculous. And clearly our company management thinks so as well, because bear in mind, in that Q4 2023 investor presentation, there was that famous slide, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, WTF, as it relates to our relative valuation as well as our absolute, valuation. It's crazy. Okay, my friend, let's stay positive. Let's be great. And we'll see each other again next week.